Dear students, welcome to the lecture on modernism. The objectives of this lecture are to understand modernism as a distinctive ideology, to comprehend modernism as a movement, to seek the significance of modernism within a political and philosophical framework. Modernism has had a lasting relevance in the academic fields, particularly humanities and social sciences, influencing various theories, methodologies and perspectives. Its impact is evident in how scholars approach research, conceptualize societies and analyze political phenomena. It is an influential intellectual and cultural movement that emerged in the late 19th and early 20th centuries and significantly impacted various disciplines including political philosophy. The questions about the relevance of modernism keep arising and continue to shape different world philosophies. Likewise, it is significant to political ideas. And here are some key points that establish the relevance of modernism within the purview of modern political philosophy. There is emphasis on rationality and progress, and modernism strongly emphasizes reason, science and the belief in human progress by applying rationality. In political thought, this emphasis on rationality has influenced how governments are structured, policies are formulated and political decisions are made. Modernist thinkers have sought to create efficient and rational political systems that can lead to progress and societal development. Then individualism and autonomy. Modernism often championed the idea of individual autonomy and the individual's rights. In political thought, this emphasis on individualism has played a role in shaping liberal democracies and protecting individual rights and freedoms, as seen in the development of constitutional principles and human rights frameworks. Then secularism and separation of church and state. Modernism challenged the traditional authority of religious institutions and sought to separate church and state, leading to the rise of secularism. This idea has profoundly impacted modern political systems, particularly in Western societies, where the separation of religion and governance reflects in many constitutions and legal frameworks. Critique of tradition and authority is also significant. Modernism questioned the unquestioned authority of tradition and sought to break away from established norms and customs. This critical perspective on tradition has led to re-evaluating political structures and developing new political ideologies and movements. Then technological advancements and globalization. Modernism is often associated with rapid technological advancements and the rise of globalization. These developments have transformed political thought by reshaping international relations, trade policies and communication between nations and cultures. Then there are postmodernist reactions. The ideas of modernism have also sparked reactions, most notably postmodernism. Postmodernism challenges the grand narratives and universal truths emphasized by modernism, which has implications for how political thought approaches issues like cultural relativism, identity politics and the complexity of power dynamics in society. The basic philosophical understanding of modernism is in terms of a movement initially called avant-garde, which is descriptive of its attempt to overthrow some aspect of tradition or the status quo. The term modernism itself is derived from the Latin word modo, which means just now. Modernism refers to a global movement in society and culture that sought a new alignment with the experience and values of modern industrial life from the early decades of the 20th century. In the literary world, modernist thinking is about the search for an abstract truth of life that attempts to construct a coherent worldview by explicitly rejecting the ideology of realism and using the past's works by employing reprise, incorporation, rewriting, recapitulation, revision and parody. Modernism also denies the certainty of Enlightenment thinking, and many modernists reject religious belief. It has been observed in the works of Western poets that the main themes of the modernist times are confusion, isolation and disillusionment. One may distinguish three phases of modernity: Eurocentric, West-centric and polycentric. In addition, modernism mainly covers such themes as art and architecture, cities and urbanization, various physical and cultural appearances of material life, other elements of everyday life and social customs and cultural traits. That way, modernism evolved as a cultural, artistic and intellectual movement profoundly impacting literature, visual arts, architecture, music, philosophy and political thought. It is characterized by a break from traditional forms, a rejection of established norms and a strong belief in progress, individualism and the power of reason. Therefore, in particular, critical characteristics of modernism may include some of the characteristics like rejection of tradition. Modernists sought to break away from the conventions and traditions of the past. They challenged established norms in art, in literature and societal norms, often experimenting with new forms and styles. Another would be emphasis on individualism. Modernism celebrates individuals and their unique experiences, perceptions and expressions. It focused on the inner self and the subjective experience, often questioning universal truths and absolutes. Then rationalism and scientific inquiry is another important characteristic. Modernism embraced the principles of reason and the scientific method. It emphasized empirical evidence, critical thinking and the application of scientific knowledge to various aspects of life and culture. Then fragmentation, discontinuity and innovation could also be listed as one of the characteristics, because modernist works often featured fragmented narratives, disjointed structures and non-linear storytelling. This fragmentation reflected the complexity and uncertainty of the modern world. The avant-garde artists and thinkers at the forefront of artistic and intellectual innovation pushed the boundaries of their respective fields and challenged traditional aesthetics. Then embracing technology and urbanization is another characteristic, because modernism embraced the technological advancements and urbanizations of the time. It celebrated the machine age and the possibilities of industrialization. Existential concerns are an important characteristic. Modernist works frequently explored existential themes such as the meaning of life, alienation and the human condition in the face of an uncertain and often chaotic world. International and transcultural influences are also a major concern. Modernism was not limited to one country or culture. It was an international movement with artists, writers and thinkers from various regions sharing ideas and influencing each other. And we have examples of modernist figures, including writers like James Joyce, Virginia Woolf and Franz Kafka. We have artists like Pablo Picasso, Wassily Kandinsky and Marcel Duchamp. We have architects like Frank Lloyd Wright and Le Corbusier. We have philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche and Jean-Paul Sartre. And it is also important to note that modernism was not a cohesive and unified movement. It encompassed diverse and sometimes conflicting perspectives across different disciplines. Additionally, modernism eventually gave rise to various responses and critiques, leading to the emergence of postmodernism and other subsequent cultural movements. Therefore, it remains a generally accepted term to describe the sweeping changes, particularly in the arts and literature, and spread over other humanities and social sciences fields. Even about the date, one may argue that there is no clear boundary between the late 19th century and the beginning of the Second World War. Roland Barthes, a French semiologist, defined modernism as the pluralization of worldviews deriving from the evolution of new classes, technology and communications that were gathering momentum in the mid-19th century. At the same time, the English novelist and essayist Virginia Woolf regarded it as historic opportunity for change in human relationships and character. Generally, modernism would stylistically depict a movement towards sophistication, mannerism, introversion, technical display, internal self-skepticism, and as a reaction against Victorian realism. Nietzsche is often regarded as one of the first modernists because of his proclamation that no artist tolerates reality. He argued that the aim of art should be its own self-realization and that art itself makes life. His emphasis on the individual and the drama of the artist's consciousness were influential in several ways for the development of modernism. However, Sartre was not a central figure in the modernist movement itself, but he did contribute to modernist thought and engaged with some of its themes. His philosophy aligns with certain aspects of modernism, particularly his emphasis on individual consciousness, freedom and the struggle to find meaning in a seemingly absurd or chaotic world. In Sartre's view, modernism and existentialism share a concern with the experience of alienation, isolation and the search for authenticity. But modernism was not just a movement associated with the arts. Instead, it was a broad intellectual movement affecting and also affected by technological, political and ideological changes and developments of the time. Then if we try to see the relationship between modernism and modern political philosophy in particular, modernism in political philosophy marks a departure from the pre-modern and classical conceptions of politics and society by introducing new perspectives on the role of the state, individual rights and the nature of political authority. Modern political philosophers emphasized the significance of the individual and their rights as opposed to the collective interests of the state or society. This shift towards individualism laid the groundwork for the development of liberal democracies and the protection of individual rights and freedoms. Even rationality became a cornerstone in the development of political ideologies and the design of governmental systems. Modernist thinkers sought to apply reason and empirical evidence to political problems and questions. Prominent modernist thinkers like Thomas Hobbes, John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau proposed variations of social contract theory. They argued that individuals form political societies through an implicit or explicit agreement to create a governing authority in exchange for protection and preserving their rights. If we talk about liberalism, liberal political philosophy also emerged as a dominant modernist school of thought, emphasizing individual rights, limited government and the rule of law. Liberal thinkers like John Stuart Mill and John Rawls refined these ideas, influencing modern democracies. In the case of secularism, modernist political philosophy often embraced it by separating religious and political institutions and advocating for the state's neutrality regarding spiritual matters. This principle aimed to protect religious freedom and ensure equal treatment for individuals of different faiths or even non-believers. And then with equality and justice, if we look at it, equality before the law and the pursuit of social justice gained prominence during the modernist period. Philosophers like John Rawls introduced the idea of justice as fairness, seeking to create a more just and equitable society through the distribution of resources and opportunities. Same in the case of nationalism. Modernism witnessed the rise of nationalism, believing in the importance of nation states as the primary units of political organization. Nationalist movements sought to unite people based on shared cultural, historical and linguistic characteristics. Then technological and scientific progress. Modernists believed in progress and the potential for human improvement through reason and knowledge. It's important to note that modernism is political philosophy is a diverse and evolving field with various interpretations and critiques of its underlying assumptions. And in political thought, it has several strengths that have significantly shaped political theory and practice. And based on the points that I have already discussed, there could be more critical strengths in the case of modernist theory or modernism as an ideology. There is first of all emphasis on individual rights and freedoms, because modernist political thought strongly emphasizes individual rights and freedoms. And this focus on protecting individual liberties has been instrumental in developing liberal democracies, where citizens' rights are safeguarded and governments are held accountable for their actions. Then next is a rational and scientific approach. Modernism uses reason and empirical evidence, as I have already mentioned, to analyze political issues and develop policies. This sensible and scientific approach has contributed to developing evidence-based policy making and establishing more efficient and effective governance structures. Then we also know about the social contract theory proposed by modernist thinkers like Hobbes, Locke and Rousseau, providing a compelling justification for the existence and legitimacy of political authority. It helps to establish the idea that governments derive their powers from the consent of the governed, providing a theoretical basis for democratic governance. Then we can also list promotion of progress and improvement. Looking at it, we can say that modernism is inherently optimistic about human progress and the potential for societal improvement. This optimism has led to pursuit policies and reforms to achieve greater prosperity, equality and social welfare. Then the other point that I mentioned, separation of church and state, because modernist political thought advocates separating religious and political institutions. This principle has contributed to religious freedom and reduced the potential for religious conflicts within society, promoting a more inclusive and tolerant political environment. Then also talking about nationalism and statehood, modernism's emphasis on nation states has played a crucial role in shaping the modern geopolitical landscape. It has encouraged the formation of cohesive national identities and facilitated the establishment of self-governing entities. Then we can also list human rights discourse into this. Modernism has played a significant role in shaping the concept of universal human rights. The idea that certain rights are inherent to all individuals regardless of background or nationality has led to the establishment of international human rights norms and institutions. Then scientific and technological advancement, which is also reflected modernism on progress and the application of scientific knowledge, that has contributed to remarkable technological advancements and which have been able to transform economies, societies and governance systems. We also have critical examination of traditional institutions. Modernist political thought encourages critical examination and questioning of traditional political institutions and practices. It has led to the development of alternative and innovative forms of governance that better reflect changing societal values and needs. Then promoting the democracy and participation is also one of the key factors we can list in modernism. Modernism, which has been instrumental in promoting democratic principles and encouraging political participation. Modernism has fostered the idea that citizens should have a say in the decisions that affect their lives, leading to the expansion of suffrage and democratic reforms worldwide. Additionally, while modernism laid the foundation for many contemporary political ideologies and systems, it faced challenges and responses from alternative schools of thought such as postmodernism and communitarianism. Despite so many strengths that we have discussed in modernism, modernist political thought also faces criticisms and challenges such as its sometimes narrow focus on individualism, its potential to neglect communal values and identities, and its historical association with colonialism and imperialism. Nonetheless, its enduring influence on contemporary political theory and practice is undeniable. So, to conclude, I would say despite its name, modernism may not align precisely with what we consider modern in contemporary terms. While it emerged as a response to the changing social and cultural and philosophical landscape of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, its core ideas have since become foundational to many aspects of modern society. The emphasis on individual rights, reason, secularism and the rule of law continues to influence political thought and governance today. However, the term modernism itself can refer to a specific historical period which may not fully capture the ongoing evolution of modern values and principles. As societies continue to evolve, the legacy of modernism remains relevant, even if it is its original context has evolved into what we now commonly recognize as the modern world. Hence, in political philosophy, modernism is characterized by its emphasis on individual rights, the rule of law, secularism, social contract, limited government, equality, justice, democratic governance, progress, and a critical approach to tradition. It is a diverse and evolving movement that seeks to establish just and rational political systems that protect and empower individuals within a changing societal context. So, dear students, I shall stop here now. See you in the next lecture. Until then, keep reading, thinking, and writing.